We are arriving at the ride start. The Alden Village Center in the Woodlands. We're going to see who's here. It's early. We're about 5 minutes early, so we'll get some clips for you all. Should be interesting. On this ride, Paul and I left Northampton, rode into the Woodlands. We picked up Mike Barrera and Kim, and then we headed out on Honia Egypt Road. We filmed that stretch. Once we got into Honia, we went through Mill Route. We continued to film until we hit 2854 there. Then we went into Montgomery. We met some riders at Taco Corner. There were a lot of riders riding, a different group. We left there, took Bailey Grove into the forest there. We took 149 south and went on Hidden Forest Road there onto Mount Pleasant Road. We filmed that stretch back to 1097. We took Spring Branch Road and then Keenan cut off into Grand Lake Estates. We filmed stretches of the Grand Lake Estates until we got out to Honia Egypt Road again. That was off camera. It was a very mild day, and the focus was primarily Zone 2 conditioning. A lot of people throw Zone 2 around, but they don't really understand what actual Zone 2 is. I think you would love the clips we got for you. We're on the open road. We're at Honia Egypt Community Road, turning off of FM 2978, headed northwest. That's Kim back there on my wheel. I just turned on the camera, and I'm going to put it in my right hand, give you guys a view. Paul's going to see that I've got the camera. He's going to roll up, and I'm going to hand him the camera. Right there. So we did a little solicitation on the channel where we asked people which view they preferred. A lot of people liked this view, the handheld views, especially a lot of our members, you know, that actually join the channel. In addition to subscribers. There's deer on the road. Look on the left. I don't know if you can even see it right there. There's a bunch of deer, so we slowed down. And Mike likes the deer. That's what Paul is pointing it out. And they're on both sides of the road. They're on both sides. There's a bunch of them. But what I was saying was most people prefer what we prefer, the handheld position, because of the flexibility. So you can move the camera around. You can get rear views and all of that. I kind of like that. But we'll use all the different views and incorporate them as time goes on. But this is our preferred mode, because it's just more flexible. Since the emphasis here, Mike Barrera has been unwell, and he's recovered. So for the last few weeks, he has not been on the rides. So since he's just coming back from illness, and then Paul himself was feeling a little under the weather, you know, winter stuff's going around, just cold.
I've been working on that, Mike.
So, you know, basically we decided that we would just kind of keep the effort around the true Zone 2 pace. So you got to find your Zone 2 pace. It's not what everybody throws around necessarily. It is basically your highest aerobic pace that you can maintain. And it's going to change based on your fitness as time goes on. So we're on one of our favorite roads, the Honia Egypt Community Road. Mike Barrera really loves this road. So I decided, since the group is small, I was going to take a long pull on this stretch and just kind of, you know, take us into Honia before I pull off. So I'm keeping the effort power-wise to 250. Heart rate-wise, probably top of Zone 3 to the bottom of Zone 4, something like that. And keeping my cadence 90s primarily. It is a cool morning. It was colder than I figured. At first, I put on my Aero jersey top, went outside in the backyard. Paul was already there. We're getting ready to leave. And I went back inside and got some arm warmers because it was cooler than I figured. So, but it's not one of those days where you see it says 15 Celsius. So it's already 56, 57 or something like that, but it feels cooler because the wind's from the north. But it's one of those days where we're supposed to get to like 18 C, 63, 65-ish. And where we're going is always colder. So I covered my arms to make sure. Because, your arms are not doing anything. Your legs can tolerate cool weather more. You can hear the wind. And this is duct. So we're dealing with it. A bit of a little light hole in the pavement. When they patch these roads, sometimes they just drop the asphalt and they flake off, and then sometimes they'll leave a little dip. It's not fun when you ride over them, even in a car. It kind of rattles you. I'm going through the gears as we descend, shifting up, and then I'm going to shift back down, keeping the effort the same. There's a bit of patina on this road, so I make sure I point that out for the other riders in the group. So years ago, this road was the main way to get out here because Fish Creek used to dead end at a golf course. And that's why in this curve that's coming up in about probably 1,000 meters, the road on the right is called Mulligan Road, which I thought is a cool name for a road, because the golf course to the east of this road covers that whole area. Right here, that road on the right, that's the way we used to get across a long time ago, before they did Fish Creek. Before they did that bridge that we go down on Fish Creek on Lake Creek Bridge. I pretty much ride where you see Mike Barrera is, and then sometimes I'll stay closer to the white line because the wind is kind of like a northeasterly flow, I believe. So I'm trying to stay as far to the right as possible so Kim can get a bit of a drag. You can see she's a little off to my left. Most of the time, that's kind of how she rides, but this was perfect for her because that's the perfect position for the draft. Kim is a triathlete that has fallen in love with her road bike. And she's made that clear that she's enjoying just riding the road bike versus the time trial bike. When I competed, I only used the time trial bike for events. Put that sucker up. Most of the time, I would put clip-ons on my road bike and just do it. Because back in the day, we used to put on like a rear disc wheel or something. Most riders would use the same bike. We didn't have a special TT bike to say. The teams that had the budget probably did. I prefer my road position. The road goes up here. Another reason I like this road is it's not a road to chat on. You come and you focus and you work. It encourages you to ride. And I'm sure you have roads in your area that probably do the same thing for you. There's certain roads you get on, you just want to ride. And anytime I get on this road, I don't care how tired I am. I just get to the business of riding. Doesn't mean I'm riding hard necessarily, but just whatever gear I'm in, I just start rolling it. So we're going into the wind. It's a grade the entire way. There stretches where it might go 3% or more, but we pretty much we're riding in these conditions between 18 to 20 miles an hour. That's pretty much we're going to stay in that range. Certain stretches we might go a little faster or slower, but that's pretty much will be the average. This is true rolling terrain. Paul's trying to clear his throat. He's finally recovering. I mean, you know how when you get a cold, sometimes you get these little, I guess, blisters or pimple in your mouth. He had one of those early in the week, and it finally went away. So with 2 riders here not feeling their best, we decided we would just keep it sensible today. But you will see later on, Mike Barrera started feeling good, so he just went ahead and took longer pulls, especially when we're in the forest. And when I'm in a group like this, and if somebody wants to pull for a long time, I just let them do what they want to do. That's the whole point. Let everybody enjoy themselves. And then what you can do if you want to work really hard is don't draft very closely. You can also stay a little off the back and give yourself more of a challenge, or vary your gearing to give yourself more of a challenge. So my goal here is to stay right on the edge of aerobic versus anaerobic effort level. So Mike is using a slightly lower cadence. He's just kind of sitting in and rolling that gear. And because the pace is steady, it's easier to do that at this point because there's not a lot of speed changes. So as the road goes up, what I do is I make sure I keep the gears reasonable to keep my effort in the same range. Because I'm not just dealing with the grade, I'm also dealing with the wind. I'm riding the edge where it's a little smoother. You see where Mike is? But you got to dodge those reflectors because they're little squares. Yeah, so you got to watch it. You use your hips to keep the bike on the line you want it to be on. Because that pavement that is scraped up is just, it rattles you. I don't see how those riders in the UCI can ride the cobbles like they do for as long as they do. That thing just shakes you up too much. I give them credit for that. They do their best to get bigger tires and so forth, but still, it shakes you up. The road kind of is going slightly downhill, so the speeds are up. I continue to go through the gears to keep my rhythm the same. You see how my kit fits him? When you look at my kit, you gotta get your kit to fit you well, because I don't care how fancy your bike or your wheels are, your body is the biggest drag factor. So your kit and your bike fit, important. This one goes to, I think, 5%. It's short. I'm on a small chainring. I already shifted down. I was not paying attention to the power here. I just, by feel, raise my cadence to stay in the same range. Then once we descend, I shift up. It's a bit of patina. Pavement kind of chopped up. They patch these things and just drop asphalt on top of asphalt, and they peel away.
Come back.
I think this is where I tell Kim to come on to take the lead. I don't like to give people the lead up a hill, so it's downhill. I had joked her and told her I was going to save the downhills for her. So I let her take the lead there since we're going downhill, so she can at least get to the front before we hit the grades that are coming up. We're going to hit some grades. That's gradual, 1.5% until we get the leader drive. We're going so fast that I don't want to thread the needle on the edge there, because if I were leading, I would. But when you're following people, it's harder to see the line. So I just went ahead and rolled on the scraped pavement. They scraped up a traction. So the whole time I'm riding, I glance in my mirror, so I'm tracking the other road users. And so when you see me move left and use more of the lane, I already know there's nothing coming. I'm not guessing when I'm out there. Always monitoring. You need to do the same. Even if you don't have a mirror, look behind before you move out. You got to check. You're going to change your line, you got to check. Don't take a chance. Because you will see in a few kilometers, in about probably 10 kilometers, this guy's coming out of his driveway. He doesn't even see us. He's leaving his home, looking down, not even looking at the road. I don't know what he was looking at, maybe his phone or whatever. And at the last minute, he hit the brakes. We'd already seen him, so we were watching him. So you'll see it. It's on film. They don't pay attention, so you got to pay attention for them. Even in your car, you got to drive for you and everybody else. Because nobody wins an accident. It's like war. There are no winners. Or I should say a crash. Really what it is. So Kim is pulling. So Kim is a new member on our group me board. She rode with us last week with her son Brandon, but Brandon is riding in the city on this day, so he didn't come out with her. So Kim is new to the road cycling thing, which is different than triathlons, and so she's getting a quick education. But we ride differently. Our pace varies. You're not just flogging it in one gear the whole ride. This is Leah Drive. It's going to kick off a little above 2%, I believe. Right around here, it starts to bite. Yeah, 3%, I think, flashed. It says 4. I didn't realize it was that much. It bites. It's short, but it bites. So the entire time I'm following, I'm looking around the rider in front of me. I'm being aware of what's coming, front, behind, glancing my mirror. If I didn't have the mirror, I'd look back. I look back from time to time just to verify distances, especially when I'm making left turns, just to make sure the objects are not closer than they appear. We're arriving at 2854. We are in Honia, Egypt. Honia, Texas. We left Egypt behind. They call that road, this road, Honia, Egypt Road, because it takes you north to Honia and south to Egypt. So this is Honia. 2854. This was a short line. When we got there, it changed quickly.
Sitting like that for months,
Yeah, Mike's talking about a property across the street there with the vacant lot. They started work and then it just stalled. Usually it's funding or somebody changed their mind or something. We're going to be turning on Ribbon Chapel Road. Staying on this highway is another route that can get you. This is 2854. You can stay on it and go towards Stockwell Corner, but this is more interesting. It's quieter, and you got more rollers on here, so this is an option. So Kim pulls off. Mike's gonna take over. I mentioned to Kim because when we started the ride, she said, I'm not going to do the whole route, you know. And so I'm letting her know that a good turnaround spot would be Taco Corner because we have a bunch of riders that are going there. It's a good stop point and it's a good turnaround point because most of this route, you got to plan your turnaround because once you go far enough, unless you're just going out and back, there aren't easy spots to turn around. That's why I mentioned. But she ended up changing her mind. Once we got the taco, she realized, because she said, well, I want 3.5 hours today. I thought, well, if you want 3.5 hours, you got to do the ride. Because our rides, we plan them to where they're between 3 and 4 hours every week with the group. Because Paul and I get another 2 hours, 1 hour to get to the ride start, and 1 hour to get back to our home. So we get 6 hours You know, that's our goal. 6 hours, 5 or 6 hours. So most of the routes are between 3.5 to 4 hours. So I told her, if you want 3.5 hours, just do the whole route. I do everything by time. A lot of people like to do things by miles. I don't worry about miles. The miles fall where they may because you don't control how many miles you will travel. If you travel with a group, you're going to go faster. You will cover more ground. If you ride by yourself, solo, you're going to go a shorter distance, but you're still doing the work. So it's better to do it by time because you want to focus on how long it takes you to do the event that you're going to do. It doesn't matter, you know, because with the group, 4 hours, you might cover, say, 80 plus miles. While by yourself, you will cover less than that. But then if you're concerned about being able to last 4 hours with a group, just do 4 hours by yourself and don't worry about how many miles you cover. Do that time because your body only cares about how hard you're working and for how long. That's all that matters. The body doesn't care about distance. Time and effort is the focus. The road goes up here. Just slight. There's a slight grade until we get to the little bump. In about probably 3 kilometers, there's a nice little climb there. 3.5, 4%. And it's long. It's nice and long. So I like coming out this way because where I live is congested. There's a lot of people, densely populated, a lot of cars. So during the week, I spend enough time riding around there, you know, do an hour here, hour there. On the weekends, I want to go in the country. I'm trying to get a gel. You should be able to do that. You got to practice that. When you ride solo, carry your food, practice reaching in your pocket, getting it out, opening it with one hand. I'm holding the stem near where the bar and the handlebar and the stem meets. That gives me more control with my right hand. So now I switched it. I'm putting the trash in my empty pocket. Since Paul has the camera, I use that other pocket because if I put it in there with the regular food, then I got to sort it out when I'm trying to reach for more. So once we get to a stop, I will unload that pocket. You got to practice doing that and do it quickly to where you're not doing it for too long. You know, just grabbing food, get a gel in there or a bar or whatever you carry. I don't use too many gels. I only use the gel when my effort is already up and I just need something in there. But most of these rides will eat these bars. We talked about them. They're made by Nature Valley. My wife gets them from Sam's. And so we have different bars that we like. You buy them wholesale. They're a lot less expensive than buying these things from bike shops. So you better, you know, you can even make a sandwich at home and wrap it up, put it in your pocket. Whatever you like to eat. There's no rule. And just make sure if it's solid, you eat it while the effort is low. You don't want to be going hard and then have to use energy to digest food. So when I got to the ride start, Kim asked me whether this bike was different than what I had ridden in the week before. I don't know if she asked me because it was clean, but I always keep my bike clean because, and not just for the group rides, I like to keep the bikes clean. I clean the drivetrain. That's how you can find stuff. You know, clean the tires because you can find stuff in there. Like little pieces of glass can get in your tire and they don't cause a flat, but they're embedded in the rubber. So if you can get them out, then you don't have to worry about it. Yeah, it leaves a little cut, but they're small enough to where you can ignore them. So I always take them out. The little pieces of glass get in there, I just take them out. So every day or every other day, just wipe your tires and look for those things and use a tweezer to get those little pieces of rock or glass that work their way in because they can cause flats later. So if you do that, you will avoid flats. I don't have flats very often. And if you're careful, you make it the exception rather than the rule as far as flats go. So Mike's done pulling. He just took a short pull. Mike's trying to see how he feels. And that's the way you should do it. When you've been ill, don't come back and hammer. Just ride. Ease into it. So I decided that I'm gonna take longer pulls since these guys are like a little under the weather, you know, they're still just trying to get back into the swing of thing, you know. So's Paul. Paul's a little under the weather, dealing with a cold. I said, okay, I'm just gonna take longer pulls. And that's how you can still get good work in and still keep the group together. This is the climb I was talking about. I think it gets to around 5%. It's a nice little bump. I think I downshift here to get a good ratio because I don't want to be on top of the gear. I did not want to be bogged down. So I'm on a small chain ring and probably using a 15 or a 16 in the back. So, I mean, hills hurt, period. So even though I'm not going hard, when I was riding this, I could feel it in my legs. It's like you're in the gym, like weight training on the bike. And I think I'm going to shift to the big chain ring as soon as I crest this. Yeah, right there. I shift to the big chain ring. I'm going downhill. So as it starts to go up, I just find the ratio. I want to keep things smooth. So the character of this ride is different. It's not an attacking style ride. That's why I dubbed it Zone 2. You're building those capillaries. It's really odd how the human body operates. I just let it know the car up. We turn it right. What I was going to say was that even though the temperature says 16 Celsius, it feels cooler than that. So my arm, having those arm warmers on, feel very comfortable. And the odd thing is, my hands are fine even though I'm wearing fingerless gloves. So it's really odd. You've got to really play with your kit. Based on the temperature, because nobody can tell you what's going to work for you. Everybody's different. So when they list a kit and they say, oh, this hat is down to, or this glove goes down to 20 Fahrenheit or whatever, you got to go figure it out, whatever will work for you based on where you live. You can't just go by what they're saying. You got to be able to layer. Because I'm wearing a very lightweight cap because I knew I did not want something very heavy. And then sometimes when you're riding, just removing a pair of full finger gloves can make a difference in your temperature control. So you got to know which pieces to remove to keep yourself in the range you want to be in. You have to learn that over time. Just get out there and just try this and try that. There's no shortcut. You figure out what works for you in certain ranges based on the area you're living in. So you never nail it down perfectly ever. That's why you see cyclists with stuff in their pockets, because the day has changed and they're warm and they take it off and put it up. So by the end of the ride is when I removed those arm warmers. They had warmed up enough. So you've got to learn through experimentation. And if you're experiencing numb hands when you ride, especially when you go hard, it still comes back to that setup of your saddle and your feet. Because if your weight is not distributed there, you unconsciously try to unload the uncomfortable area, so you end up putting a lot of weight on your hands. That's what causes it to go numb after a while. Because when your position is right, you should be able to ride in the drops, the hoods, whatever, and still feel like, man, nothing changed back there. So I can get in the drops and ride and not feel like, oh, this is uncomfortable or whatever. I look in my mirror and I see that there's a gap, so I slowed down. You see me look behind. It's a little bit of a drizzle. There was no rain in the forecast. I look behind to see and then resume. There was no rain in the forecast, but it's like just a little bit of spitting going on from the clouds. This is the road where this driver will not be paying attention leaving his driveway, and at the last minute he hits his brakes. But we'd already seen him, so I had already moved over to the right really far. We're kind of watching him. So when you're riding, you have to watch. Make sure you make eye contact with these people. Don't assume somebody got their signal on that they're going to turn. Until they commit to the turn, I never do anything. Same thing in my car. I think Paul's going to blow his nose. Or he's moving out of the line to let these guys come up. Yeah, he's moving to the back. So yeah, so when somebody signals and they're going to be turning, especially like you going shopping or something, don't assume. Wait till they commit and actually turn into that before you go out there, even in your car. Because sometimes people forget their signals on. And then you go and turn and they're going straight. Now, sometimes if there's an area with a lot of shopping centers, sometimes they'll signal for an entrance that's further down, but there are other entrances. So how do you know which one they're turning into? That's the thing. So when you're not sure, just wait. The alternative is not worth it. Thinking about 3 kilometers is when we come across this guy. He's going to be coming from the left. Listen to the wind. So I'm keeping the effort in the same zone. So for me, I'm riding in true zone 2. The road goes up here at 2%. The one thing about mill route, it's like if you come down this road tired, you end up working. It's up and down. Look in the distance, I snakes up and then to the left. Just pretty. Love coming through here. It's somewhere around here, I believe. There's a house on the left. We're going to see the car in a little bit. Right there. He starts to come. I'm watching him the entire way. I slow down. If you look at my cadence, I'm soft pedaling. Right there.
Come on, man. Wow. You never saw it.
And so Mike said he never saw us. He didn't. He wasn't paying attention. Mike said he saw us then. You know, it's like your car is moving forward and you're looking down. Well, if you got other things to do, put the car in park and do what you got to do. All right, bang. He hadn't even left home and messing up. He's going to come by in a little bit. He's back there gathering himself, I guess. We got lights on. I got light on the front. You know, I mean, he was not looking. And so that's what I was talking about. You can't assume that it saw you. That's why I started soft pedaling. I moved all the way to the right. We were all watching him because he was creeping. He wasn't speeding out of the yard. The way he was moving told us he wasn't paying attention, because when someone's driving, there's a more direct way the car moves. You know, when somebody's not paying attention, you can tell. Just like when somebody's impaired, like DUI, they'll stop before they get to the intersection. That's how the officers can know. You know, instead of stopping near the white line, they stop like a car length before the white line because they're not sure that depth perception. You know, so it's like all of that. There you go. I might want to start paying attention. If you don't have time to drive, stay home or take the bus. You know, you're too busy looking at something else. You might as well get on the bus and read your book in peace or whatever it is you're doing. You get behind the wheel, you need to drive. That's the task. Nothing else matters. Paul said, come on, man. Like, really, yeah. Oh, man, that's funny. So anyway, we're approaching 2854. I ended up pulling up until we got to the downhill that would take us to 105. That part of it is off camera. But once we get into the forest, Mike started feeling good, so he took some nice long pulls. And you'll get to see that when we get to Mount Pleasant Road. So yeah, so when I drive or ride, I watch everything. If I need to do something else when I'm driving, I pull into a parking lot or somewhere and stop, because then I can focus on that. So it was clear, so we turn. Nothing's coming. We're going to, in a little bit, we're going to switch to where after we had left Taco, we're on 149 going up towards Bailey Grove. So we stopped at Taco. We got to see a bunch of riders, like 12 or 15 riders in a group. We chatted with Laura for a little bit. They're going north on this road as well. We're near West Montgomery Park. So I continue to make sure that I get my workout in I'm sitting at the front pulling. The road goes up. I believe that's the entrance to the park we just went by. I dropped the gearing to get us up. We're going. We're gonna. Yeah, Mike is standing just to change the way his muscles are working. You don't want to do that very long. It's not the most efficient way to climb, but it helps to do that from time to time. Like if you're going around a switchback, it changes the way you're using your muscles. So we're descending here. I'm going to shift up and it'll use the gears. This road is really very challenging coming back in this stretch the other way. That's a nice little climb there. So in a little bit, we're going to approach the turn to go to Bailey Grove. I'm using my mirror to check for traffic. You know, if you don't have a mirror, you just turn and look behind. When it's clear, because you're leading people, so you want to make sure it's clear and there's enough room for all of you before you let them know it's okay to get out there.
Clear back.
So I'm already on the road when Paul says clear back. Paul has a mirror also. But I'm also looking in that curve now to look for cars coming because they appear quickly. Right there, you see? and I let them know. I put my hand out to slow down, and then we turn. So Kim says, good job. I just nodded my head. So in a little bit, I'll let them know to watch out for that dog. This road, when you turn on it, is a 2% grade. So you turn and you feel it. You don't see it, you feel the grade.
I'm good, man. I just told Kim, I said, she and I are going to do the walk. These two guys are under the weather.
Yeah, I told Kim when we were around the corner, I said, both of us are going to have to pull. I said, because both of these guys are not 100%.
I turned this on when we left.
She ended up asking me at Taco Corner on the way back, she said, what do you guys do when they're well? I said, we go faster. I'm letting them know to watch out for the dog.
Watch out for the dog, Mike. We're coming to his house.
He lives about 500 meters from here.
When he shows up.
One time we came with a big group, he jumped out in front and then he got scared and ran back into his yard.
Car's up.
So we spread out. I'm just kind of watching to see if he's going to. Right on the right there where that fence ends, his house begins.
I don't see him.
Yeah, he's not outside. That's his house right there on the right, this driveway. That's where he comes from.
Did you see Jerry?
Yeah, I did.
I'm asking if you saw Jerry when we stopped at Taco.
That was Andrew Riggio
Jerry was there.
Okay,
So-
that we passed.
Yeah.
Then he sat
So
in
they
his
the group had left. I think they left from Whole Foods. Laura was riding with them on this day, and we saw them at Taco. And they're going on 149. They went straight. They left before we did. They're going straight. We ended up seeing them when we got into the forest. They were coming south. We were going north. So the road's quiet. That's another reason we like these roads, the Bailey Grove and so forth. Quiet farm roads. A lot of agricultural homes out here. Roads less traveled. So we don't have to compete with cars. I'm telling Paul, I thought I was going to warm up. It's cold out here. I'm glad I put on the arm warmers.
Yeah.
The weather had forecasted that within a few hours it was going to jump near 21C. And it's always cooler out here anyway. So at this point in the ride, we've turned on Hidden Forest Road. We've turned south on Hidden Forest off of 149. We're still in the forest. And then Mike will say we're in the forest. I said technically we've been in the forest technically. I thought I said technically we'd be in the forest the whole time. Mike B, he loves the forest.
Technically, you've been in the forest the whole time.
This is a little bump here. It's like 4 or 5%. It sneak up on you. You know, you can see. It's like. Yeah, I'm getting something to eat. I took out a bar. I leave enough room between my wheel and the riders in front so I can sit up, do what I need to do. We're not really riding yet. We're going to be in a little bit. That's when you want to get something, get a log on the fire. I like the purple because it goes with that blue on the bike, and also Rafa used the same blue colors for their name on the shorts, so you can use that as a cue to find out what goes with your kit. So I could have worn like blue socks with them. It would work. The same kind of blue like the bike. You know, get those colors to blend. So this is Mount Pleasant Road that we're turning onto. We're leaving Hidden Forest Road and we're turning on the Mount. I'm gonna let him know. So I told him, I said, this is Mount Pleasant Road. Because when we're talking originally, he said, we're going to Mount Pleasant. Yeah, Mike loves the forest. So when he found out we're going to Mount Pleasant, he said, we're going to Mount Pleasant Road. I said, well, we're going to get on Hidden Forest first. He said, you have to be technical. I like how simple my bike is. I work on a lot of bikes that have electronic shifting and internally routed cables. They just have complicated stuff to the point where they're not easy to service. You got to do, it takes more time depending on how the wires are routed. It takes more time to do simple stuff as opposed to bikes that have external cables and so forth. So, you know, the shop will charge you more, period. It just takes more time to get to them. So the jobs that used to be simple, depending on how they're routed, a simple headset overhaul becomes a bigger job if you got wires routed in the head too, you know, so forth. So I like my bikes simple. They're easy to deal with because some of those wires, when they route them internally, they get kinked. It affects the performance of your shifting and your braking. I waved the driver up, but he's been hanging back. Paul's gonna say he's too far back. He's been hanging back so he can't make his move. He's got a stretch here where he could have gone, but he'll wait until we're in a blind curve, then he comes around. So it's like, I don't know. He was hanging back too long. There's nothing coming, thankfully, because this is not the best place to pass.
That's dangerous.
Because that's a blind curve there. That's not a good decision. He had plenty of time back there. That's why I was waving him while he was hanging back there. I saw him in my mirror. You don't pass in a curve and then go on the opposite side. You don't know what's coming. That's not a good decision. I just wanted him gone so we can focus on riding. I don't like them following me. Even when I drive my car, somebody start following too close, I change lanes. Take that somewhere else. I've got better things to do with my time. This road has a lot of patina. That's why you see me using my hips to move the bike around. So when you're riding like this in a road that has a lot of potholes and stuff, leave a little space so that because people are going to be adjusting, you don't need to be following that tightly. So I have probably about half a bike length to her wheel. That gives me all the room I need to make my adjustments should she do something to avoid a pothole or something. We're descending, it's fast. I'm reading the road. We've been through here enough. I stand up because it's all choppy and bumpy. Let the bike dance under me. You can see how much lower I sit on my bike versus Kim. So I'm going to descend faster simply because of my position and my weight. Because I'm heavier than she is. And I'm more streamlined. So it's like you drop a stone, you know, it's gonna fall. So in a little bit you will see, I will just stay to the left because I realize that I'm passing her, even though I'm not really riding hard. And so I don't want to ride my brakes. And most of the small riders we ride with, I descend faster than they do. I'm a big guy. I'm almost 190 pounds, you know, 86, 87 kilograms. So you see, I'm not pedaling. I've already caught up to her, so I just go on the other side of the road. I can see that nothing's coming. I can see clearly. So you can see I'm not pedaling and I'm gone. She's back here. Paul's past her too. So now we're gonna turn at this corner and I check. It's very visible, so that's why I was on that side of the road. Looking back to make sure everybody's together. I'm adjusting my shoe. That board thing makes it easy to tighten up and cinch it. I like that. You always want to call a car up when you're in a group because somebody may not be paying attention. It just lets riders know to be aware. That's our head unit. I think it's Paul's beeping to let us know there's a sharp turn right here coming up. The new software on the Garmin's lets you know when you have a sharp curve or high traffic, so you get different beeps, the basic alerts. For some reason, that left foot was uncomfortable at this point, so I just adjusted the tongue a little bit. Because if you have something uncomfortable and you don't adjust it and you ride it for 6 hours, it adds up. It could chafe the top of your foot or something. So I just moved it to where it felt better. I'm intentionally keeping my gears heavy because I'm sitting behind Mike, so he's punching a hole in the wind, and so I can kind of just ride a slightly larger gear. The road's leveling off a little bit. It was a grade and it's leveling off. Now it's gonna go slightly downhill. We're gonna go through the gears as the speeds go up to keep our rhythm consistent. So it descends here and then it's going to kick up. Hopefully you get a shot before we get there. It goes to the right a little bit. I think it's after that when it really kicks up. It levels off here a little bit. Yeah, right here we got a little bit of a grade. Then after this there's another one. I like coming this way because you get two of them. So if you don't watch your effort, you die on the second one. The second one's longer. Climbs over, it's going to level off. I believe you'll see the second one in a bit. It's a nice long stretch. I think it dips down a little bit and then it will let's see if we get a shot of it. It curves to the right, then it goes to the left. And the road's all chopped up, so you got to look for a clean line. Right here. It's kicked in. See, it's like a snake there. It goes left and right, then it will curve to the right, and it will go to the left at the apex. So you got to read the road and lighten the load. Let that saddle bounce under you. When it's very bumpy like that, I transfer the weight to the pedals. I pedal harder, and it frees the weight off the saddle. See how long we've been climbing. We're near the apex now. I shift to the big chainring there and adjust in the rear. Find the correct ratio. I'm soft pedaling. And it levels off here. It's going to descend. That's why you have to save your legs, because now you can still work if you've paced yourself accordingly. You hear the wind. It's warmer now. It's like 21 Celsius. And we're going into that south, and the wind has shifted. That's why it's warmed up. Blowing from the south. Mike stays low, so I get into drops here. It's a slight descent, -2. Yeah. So I don't need to pedal that much. Because I'm following him so closely, I don't need to pedal that hard. That's the benefit of being in the draft. I'm about a foot off of his wheel. And as we leave the forest, there is about a 4 or 5% bump. It's kind of short. It's coming in the distance. The road will start to go up. This is where we hit 1097. Mike pulls off. I go ahead and take the lead. I look in my mirror and I see we're a bit scattered after that stretch.
Yes, sir.
So I back off a little bit to let Kim catch up. So we're headed south towards Taco Corner. We made a second stop before we resumed and went through Montgomery to Spring Branch Road. Well, we had done a lot of climbing in the forest exiting, so I kept the pace here just kind of moderate. We're just a nice little calm tempo. Like a zone 1 kind of thing. to give people a chance to catch their breath and recover. Because in a few kilometers, the road kind of goes up as we approach Taco Corner. This is a piece of Lake Conroe that we're going over here. Usually people will be fishing, but not today. To keep the pace reasonable, my goal was to keep the effort mild so everybody can kind of enjoy, you know. It's a nice view of the lake there. So we're going about 18 miles an hour into the wind. And you can see in the distance how the road kicks up. I think right here it starts to be like a false flat, like 1%. Going up here, the shoulder gets narrow, but in a little bit we're going to just use the main lane because there's a guardrail that shows up. So I usually check my mirror about here to get ready to take the lane as soon as it's safe. Right about here. But once the guardrail ends, we get a shoulder again. And the road is going to be going up. It's a nice little bump. It might be around 5%. I keep it under 400 watts because once you start going above 400 watts, it's just really very hard. So 250, 350, everybody can walk. It's leveling off. You can see the watts dropping, and I begin to shift up. I'm on the small chain ring. I'll probably go to the big chain ring once it levels off. I'm looking to see if I can tell when I shift to the big chain ring, because I'd have to use the left shifter there. So I'm still on the small chain ring. I probably stayed on there. Probably just shifted to the larger cogs in the back because we're going back up again. I like to use the small chain ring because I have more gear selections when I'm climbing. Anything above 3%. Levels off, you can see the watts dropping. We'll shift up in the back. There, I'm going to the big chain ring, right there. So when I shift to the big chain ring, I immediately shift to smaller ratios in the back to keep my rhythm in the same range. You've got to practice that. can see I did not break my rhythm at all. We're nearing Taco Corner. There's one little bump before we turn into Taco Corner. That's it you see in the distance there. A lot of times on the faster rides, people will sprint up that hill. It's a sprinter's bump. So there's so many cars coming that we could not just make a left turn, so we end up stopping into the driveway on the right, across from where we needed to turn. I asked if somebody needed to stop, and Mike said he needs to stop, but we stopped here earlier. So I'm going to go in this parking driveway here because there's too many cars coming. Because Taco Corner is across the street from me. They make tacos in there. It's a Shell gas station. It's got restrooms and a full store. So it's a good stop. It's well located.
Car up.
So if you're in the area and you said Taco Corner, everybody knows what you're talking about. So everybody calls this particular station. See, it says breakfast taco. Clean and nice restroom. That's what attracts people to these stops. You're driving your car on a trip. You want a clean place to stop and use the restroom. So we've left Taco. This is later in the ride after leaving Taco, probably about 45 minutes after leaving Taco or so. We're in the Grand Lake Estates. Paul turns on the camera. We're on the Hills Parkway Drive outside of the Grand Lake Estate itself. This is another subdivision outside. We're approaching the rear entrance. It will probably be another 5 kilometers before we get to the rear entrance. We're going into the wind. It is blowing. Road's flat. And Mike is pulling, so I just slipped in and so we can do the work. Trying to wrap up this ride. Just a slight bump here. So we'll push a little bit here. Because it's very windy, that's why I have my cadence high, because you want to save your legs. Plus we're on flat roads. Keeping your cadence up gives you the snap you need to react to changes in speed. It's a different rhythm than when you climb. Oh, it was closer. I thought it was like 5 kilometers or like 3 kilometers. So this is the back gate. It's open. Car just went through. I think they left it open. A lot of times they will leave it open. But we have access. You get through, the road goes up. This is probably 3.5%, 4%, something like that. It's short. like to come through here. Not only is it quiet, but you can string together some good efforts because the rollers repeat for about 10 kilometers. These speed bumps. When I go over those bumps, I transfer the load to the pedals as I go over them. It lets the bike freely move beneath me. And it goes up the hill. I think this might be around 5% at the peak, but it's nice and long. There was a runner on the right, so we moved over for him. We're almost at the top. It's later in the morning, so it's like it might even be afternoon. Let's see, 11:25. Yeah, it's later in the morning. The wind always picks up later in the morning, and on a day like this where it's 24 Celsius, it's warmed up significantly because the wind is coming from the Gulf of Mexico now. So most of our summer, the wind blows from the southeast. So whenever it warms up, that's where the wind comes from. Southeast or periodically southwest. So we're using this other lane because this guy's parked over there, and we're really moving here. I'm very surprised at the speeds we're holding because we're going into the wind, but the road is flat to slightly downhill. So all of us are together. So I'm keeping my eye on Kim. She's behind Paul. It's a little outside her endurance range. She said that she's comfortable doing 3 hours. And so I told her you need to do more because her events are 100-mile rides in triathlons. So I told her you need at least a 6-hour bike ride to prepare you to handle that. So she'll need to improve her endurance. So at this point in the ride, she's getting tired. We've been riding about 4 hours with them. For us, this is hour 5. We check this corner, it's nice and clear, nobody's coming. I look to make sure we're together. So the pace picks up here a little bit. I'm in the same gear. I just accelerate a bit to get closer to the mic. So standing to get a gear rolling is actually good because it saves you from really digging. You use your upper body to kind of get that gear rolling. So you'll see a lot of riders when they go around corners, they'll stand. You know, supposed to select the proper ratio, but you stand to get that gear kicked off, and then you sit down to maintain. Just a few strokes to get it started. So when you ride, don't focus so much on how fast you're going. Pay more attention to the effort level. Because even though we're doing 47 kilometers, which is 28, 29 miles an hour, we're not going harder than we were going earlier this morning, because earlier this morning we're going into the wind. We're in the same range. So your body doesn't care about speed. The effort is what matters. The effort and building the endurance within that range. So this section in this neighborhood, when you come through it, it's about 2 to 3%, and it repeats. So you really have to watch your gearing. So in the area, whenever a rider says we're going through the neighborhood, it's this neighborhood. Everybody just knows. It's Grand Lake Estates. You can ride for about 10 kilometers and get a good workout on the way home or on the way out. And you're not competing with a lot of traffic. So you got to train yourself to handle 75 RPMs as well as 105 RPM or more. So you can adapt. Yeah, the tongue on that shoe, I don't know, it folded funny. It kept bothering my instep. So I don't know what you did on Saturday, but this is part of what we did on Saturday. Remember, get your K's in and keep the doctors fired.